in this whole drama that was unfolding on Friday, wow, it seems like ages ago, but it was indeed Friday, it became clear that Circle, which is the issuer of the USD stablecoin, kept a lot of its cash reserves in Silicon Valley Bank. They later announced that it was $3.3 billion. It was 8% of the $40 billion reserve. It was probably a bigger percentage of the cash reserve as opposed to the reserve held in US Treasuries. So this was a significant concern in the crypto market specifically as to whether USDC could survive a run. Now, USDC lost its peg, slipped down to something as low as 87 cents, which obviously gives longtime crypto watchers PTSD to the Luna UST collapse. We hadn't seen any type of depegging event such as this since that time back in May, that very stressful but altogether different situation involving a depeg stablecoin. And somehow USDC has regained its peg, right? The FDIC came in and said, okay, hey, we're going to step in and make sure that these accounts at Silicon Valley Bank are made whole. That instilled some confidence. But it was a crazy moment there on Friday, Saturday, Sunday, in which people were trading USDC in all sorts of wild ways, looking to arbitrage, looking to figure out if there was money to be made here. In classic crypto fashion, people buying stable coins at a 10% discount, hoping to flip them on U.S. government intervention come Monday. So it was pretty crazy to see USDC go through this depegging event. For now, at least, it has regained its quote-unquote stability. We shall see if that holds. They disclosed a bit more detail about where they're keeping their cash reserves, and people are watching some of those institutions quite closely, as mentioned. Will, I'm going to toss this to you, man. USDC, it was pretty crazy to watch this happen. I don't know if you were, again, having flashbacks to UST, but I certainly was.
Yeah, shout out to my haters that were saying I should not buy this trade, but I definitely did buy this trade and pocketed a little bit. So.
Wow, that's so degen. Oh my!
Did you use 25 times leverage or 1,000 leverage? Or you good?
I wish. Not that ballsy, but I did do it. I did jump into the water, and it worked out pretty fine. Okay, because I think if you look at USDC, you look at the partners, BNY Mellon, BlackRock, etc. You look at this and be like, okay, they're going to be okay because they've set up for everything to be okay in the event something does happen like this. Stable coins have a long history of depegging. Stable coins are supposed to be around the price of $1 or whatever fiat it's pegged to. Doesn't necessarily always have to sit there. Yes, historically, a lot of times if it goes off that dollar line, it normally nukes to zero pretty quickly. But that's not all the time, and it really depends on what sort of stablecoin you're talking about. So, Zach, you mentioned UST. A lot of people looked at this and were like, "Oh, Circle, it's going to zero because UST did this about a year ago." Well, if you look at it, this is a very different type of stablecoin. Completely different sort of basis for how the stablecoin operates. I thought it was like more similar to what happened with Tether in 2018 and 2019 when the state of New York went after Tether and there was a depegging event around then. And then Tether was able to repeg basically when the market said, okay, you're not going to zero. There's money in the bank. There just seems to be like a problem right now due to regulations. If it's the UST or the algorithmic stablecoin, a lot of people don't trust those things because those things have historically always gone to zero. But in the case of reserve-backed stablecoin like USDC, there wasn't like a high chance in my mind that this thing was going to zero, which is why I put money on the line for it. And it worked out pretty much okay. That being said, they're not out of the woods yet. We're still seeing some things with Signature this morning. And there's a lot of worries right now in the bond market. So there could be more things to come down the pipe. Wendy, up to you.
I actually converted majority of my USDC to Tether over the weekend right before the crazy depeg happened because it was my payroll account. And if something did happen to USDC, I wouldn't be able to pay my team. So it was a little bit worrisome. Gas fees were a bit high, but I felt good doing it. And I probably will start to swap some back to USDC when I feel a little bit more comfortable. I totally get, and I agree with you about the partners that USDC, that Circle has, BNY Mellon, BlackRock, etc. But at the same time, how many crypto founders have we heard on Twitter say, funds are safe, everything's okay, don't worry. And then a couple days later, Chapter 11s, they go down, you lost your funds.
Yeah, Wendy, I was going to say the same thing. I think that what happened over the weekend pointed to this like erosion of trust, right? We had Circle coming out being very forthcoming with their communication, saying we put in that wire transfer for the $3.3 billion before the bank was taken over by the FDIC. We don't know what's going to happen with those funds. We are going to make customers whole again, but we've heard that time and time and time again. And the fact, you're so right to explain that this is a totally different product than UST, but I think people have so much PTSD. They don't know what's going to happen next. They maybe don't know if Circle is exposed to other banks that are maybe going to face the same reality in the coming days. And so, like, I just really felt for people who didn't know what to do on the weekend and were feeling very anxious about what the right next step was, because this industry has proven over the last year to be so unpredictable, and it's been unpredictable since its inception, but it's just been a really, really wild ride. I did the most unsafe thing. So Will and Wendy, you went to USDT. Will, you made a bet on USDC repegging. I dumped all my USDC into Bitcoin and Ether. And so I'm so happy this morning, but that was like not probably the most risky move to do.
You're CZ Junior. I think that Binance did the same thing. I think that they converted everything into Bitcoin or Ethereum or something like that. Don't quote me on it. I don't have the story in front of me, but Jen is a true Chad at.
Right?
Jen is up big right now, that's for sure. I mean, I think there's been a lot of commentary about, technological change and the pace of social media really accelerating these bank runs, right? And so we saw a bank run on Silicon Valley Bank. And then in a weird way, we watched a bank run on a stablecoin, right? Where it depegs, people are selling in mass, the price is going down. They're trying to get anything they can get just in case it ultimately does spiral to zero. It didn't in this case. The dynamics were different, as Will alluded to, relative to the USD crisis. But yeah, was a wild one to watch. And certainly, I don't know if it's fully out of the woods yet. We'll see what happens in these coming days should other banks suffer similar fates.